with joint. Writing songs is hard. So welcome to Gear Wizard TV. Say welcome to Gear Wizard TV. One more time. Welcome to Gear Wizard TV. Fuck it, let's live. And hello, potheads. Welcome to yet another episode of Gear Wizard TV. It's me, the Wizard, welcoming you on what is a fine Tuesday night. And with me, as always, my right-hand man, my little buddy, JD.
Thank you, Wizard. As always, I'm happy to be here. I want to apologize in advance for my technical issues that may or may not be happening. I feel like we're a real podcast now because every podcast I listen to always has at least one episode where they complain about their technical issues. Hopefully, I'm coming across loud and clear. I don't know. But let's get started. What are you smoking tonight?
What am I smoking tonight? That's an excellent question. It is a strain I've never heard of before, black cherry garlic. Uh, it's an indica dominant hybrid with a lot of limonene, caryophyllene, and both pinenes.
All my favorite terpenes.
We have some alpha pinene and some beta pinene. Uh, you don't see that a lot.
Anyone wondering what those are? You can go back and listen to the other episodes where we talk at length about all these things.
Yes, we have talked about every one of those terpenes. This is from Forbin's Finest, which is a grower up around Barrie, Vermont. Close enough to Mount Pillier to call it Mount Pillier. Like you know where that is either.
I just assume that everything in Vermont is equally close and far from everything else. Don't ask me to explain what that means. It's just how I feel about
Not
Texas.
quite though, because it is long. It's narrow, but it's long.
That's true.
Or tall. Would it be tall?
It would be. We could say long.
Oh, this is fun though. So nothing special about the cone, just a regular, probably less than average paper. It is organic hemp, but it's a sloth.
It's a sloth.
It's got a sloth.
Nice.
They're called Z's, I guess. 3 Z's. How many Z's should I? How long should you hold it? Zzz.
I would. I think it's a beat per Z. So.
Or is it zzz? Zzz. There you go.
There's a Batman villain who, to this day, I don't know how to pronounce his name. His name is something like that, Mr. Z, and there might be an X there. I don't know,
but you gotta have. I mean, you gotta buy papers with a sloth on them, or I do.
I mean, sloths were all the rage a few years ago, and they still should be.
They've always been the rage for me.
Same.
I love me some sloths.
Sloths and otters never go out of style in my heart.
There's an aquarium in Dallas. Have you ever been to the Dallas World? I mean, there's a couple. I know. I'm getting there. The Dallas World Aquarium. Have you ever been there?
I have been to nothing in Dallas.
It's fucking amazing aquarium. But anyway, giant clam. They have an actual giant clam like you see in the old movies, and people get stuck in them. They got one. It's real.
Is it like 1,000 years old?
I don't know. It's got to be. I mean, it's big. It had to take some time. But I digress. At one point, they may still, I don't know, but they had a stand of trees that was like right out in the middle of the top floor while you were waiting for the little, where you buy your snacks and things.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a sloth in there.
Like in the clam? Sorry.
No, he was just there. Like theoretically, you could have touched him. There were big signs telling you do not touch him. But he was right there. I could have. I would have
I,
got thrown out. It might have been worth it.
I know we're talking about sloths and you getting thrown out for almost touching a sloth, but I never moved beyond the giant clam in my head. I'm sorry. I had to look it up. That clam weighs more than 500 pounds.
It's a big ass clam.
That's a lot of chowder. It's a lot of clam chowder.
And that, man, you could get stuck in that thing. I wouldn't want to. It scared me.
You know, the ocean's a nightmare. Like, I grew up on the ocean. I've never been on a cruise ship, but I'd love to go. I think the ocean's beautiful. But when you really just think, like when you're on a boat in the ocean and you think about what's happening below you, just the alien ecosystem taking place with giant clams eating whatever they're eating. I don't know. There's just so much stuff going on in the ocean, and it scares me.
You
It's
know, I used to dive for a living.
for a living. I knew you were a diver. I didn't know that you dove for a living though.
I uh, I was a trainer. I was a scuba diving instructor.
Oh,
So I did a lot of diving in Southern California when I was going to school.
were
And
you ever attacked by a giant clam who can live 100 years or more? It
I
says.
never saw a giant clam. I think those are much more. Uh, I don't know. Honestly, I have this idea that they're like around Hawaii. I don't know why I have that idea. It could be wrong, but they seem more tropical. I don't know. I didn't see any clams or giant clams. I saw scallops.
What does a scallop look like? And a scallop has a shell, correct?
Yeah, they have that weird shell that it's like round, but then it has the little fins. They're not fins, but they've got the two little pointies.
Hmm. So giant clams live in the South Pacific and parts of South Africa. So
So, there we go. There
I
we
think
go.
you were
South
right. There you
Pacific.
go. Yeah.
But no, I saw octopi. Uh, I played with. Well, I didn't play with sharks. I played with octopuses. I did not play with sharks.
Man, octopuses are so cool.
Octopuses are very cool. They were.
So then you know how scary the ocean is.
Oh yeah. Well, if I'm in it, it's not nearly as scary as if I'm on it.
So you are more afraid of flying piranha that could catch you, the piranha that can jump out of the ocean. I've seen it
No,
in a movie. It's a real thing. They sprout wings and then they fly and they attack you. It's true.
but things are like this, and you get sick, and it's
Gotcha.
weathery. I don't know.
You're
But
afraid
when
of
you're
being
down,
deep.
everything pretty chill, and
Yeah.
there's things around you. Going through the kelp forest was scary because
What
you
is that?
literally can't see. You're moving stalks of kelp out of the way, and then boom, there's a big fish.
Wow.
That was trippy. But we didn't come here to talk about that.
But have you ever tried diving on weed?
No, no. Honestly, at the time, I was not smoking,
Get out of here.
and I feel like it wouldn't be wise to be actively high and scuba diving, because you would make some bad decisions.
You could potentially panic and have an anxiety attack.
I
But
did I did barely get narked once though, nitrogen narcosis, the rapture of the deep.
what is
So,
like so you just basically started tripping while you were underwater?
well, what happens? It increases with depth, and as you go deeper, the concentration of nitrogen in your blood goes higher
Hmm.
because with pressure, it takes like at 33 feet, there's twice as much air in your lungs as it is at the surface because it's compressed. And that just keeps going as you go down. So the nitrogen in your blood is also like that. Well, what happens is the percentage increases based on that compression. And when the nitrogen percentage gets to a certain amount, it starts becoming intoxicating. And the deeper you go, the more intoxicating it gets.
Oh my god.
And yeah, you can like really get pretty messed up and do some stupid things.
Wow.
And I'm gonna give the fish some air. They need it.
What kind of what kind of high does it feel like? Like compared to a
God, it's been so long.
Yeah. Okay.
Definitely a spacey, forgetful. It's been far too long, and I only got a taste.
Gotcha.
To be fair, because I was smart. That's dangerous. You have to be careful.
Yes. Be careful when you're underwater with all the terrible monsters that live under there.
Well, I had an ulterior motive for the cone tonight. That's because I thought after our talk last week about Oat Willies,
Oat
got me
Willies.
thinking
R.I.P. Oat Willies.
about, and I think I mentioned it,
You did.
power hitters, which was an Oat Willie invention,
You're giving them away, huh?
or or something like that. Well, you gotta remember these were $1970, so that that was at least 15-20 bucks in today's money.
I'm looking that up right now. But you can continue while I do that.
So, God, I don't even know where to start. There's so many things to say. Uh, this would have been by my first encounter with these, the late 70s, or now this would have been early 80s. This would have been very early 80s. And I was in a very small town in West Texas, and you're somewhat sheltered out there. There was the barest minimum of a head shop in San Angelo. Like it was a flag store. It was in a place, where you would go have flags made if banners, that sort of thing. Uh, but the guy that ran it was kind of a hippie. And so he had set up one little corner of his shop with a couple of tables and one display case. And he sold pipes and bongs and, well, water pipes because bongs were illegal. Uh, and you could get papers and things from him, and that was the closest to a head shop we had, was the flag shop. And Oat Willie's was this legendary thing in Austin. But I went to a party house that I had been frequenting for a while. One night, a guy pulled out one of these.
Real quick,
Yeah.
$4 in 1970 is worth $32.51 today.
Damn,
Yeah.
that's crazy. Okay, so yeah, a guy whipped one of these out, and it blew my mind. Fascinated, and I always wanted one. And for years, it seemed like it wouldn't happen because they went out of manufacture. They didn't have anybody to make them anymore. People had stopped caring.
Mhm.
But I found some of these old ads. I thought it would show up. This is another thing, though, as we start to look at I have 8 power hitters now. Uh, it's crazy. But a vintage one with that mouthpiece on it. I have never seen one of those in the wild. I've never seen one of those, a picture of it anywhere but these ads with that odd little mouthpiece on it. I'm guessing that was a very, very first generation, but I don't
Not
know.
only not only did Oat Willie invent the power hitter, but he invented the hoverboard or whatever it's called too, because I saw somebody in my neighborhood riding around on one of those things. Very
Yeah,
cool.
Oat Willie had one way back in the day.
So is that like a squeeze bottle?
Yes, it's
Okay.
exactly like a squeeze bottle. Uh, I would love to find a vintage power mask.
Oh, that's cool.
That was another thing. They only did it for a very brief while. Uh, but see, at this point now, they're selling these in High Times.
I was gonna ask where these ads were
I
in
am
High
pretty
Times.
sure
Makes
this
sense.
ad's from High Times.
Yeah.
Uh, And yeah, it's right there. That was not the Oat Willie's location, but I think that was like the warehouse because now they at this point they've sold 2 million of these according to this ad.
Ads don't lie.
Uh, because yeah, with High Times, man, they were doing that mail order business. It was crazy. Uh, and there's a whole set of instructions here, but also benefits. Because I'm here to tell you, when you first start playing with these, especially when I was in my late teens, you smoke to get high.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this is a toy and it's a party thing. Growing older, there are a few cases where it starts to make even more sense though from time to time. I had some work done on my teeth. I had a tooth pulled,
Mm.
and you can't smoke. Not
Right.
because of the smoke, but because you can't use a
The
straw,
sucking. Right.
nothing that would create pressure in your mouth. How you gonna get high?
With a gas mask.
Power heater, power hitter. No problem. You're just breathing air. In times of COVID, you can share a joint. Nobody has to put their mouth on that thing. In fact,
Oh,
as you'll
good.
see, new company that is selling these, spoiler, uh,
Don't lip it, grip it, and rip it.
I love that motto.
It's a good motto.
Don't lip it.
I'm tempted to. I'm literally looking at these pictures, and I'm like, I could make one of these.
But you don't have to.
I don't have to, but I might want to.
So the trick on it, as you can start to see here from this picture, is that mouthpiece piece that is designed to hold the joint perfectly.
Yeah.
That's the tricky part. I mean, you could totally make one of these. And
Right.
honestly, it's not that much different from a gravity bong in a lot of ways. There's many ways you could pull this off, but you don't have to.
Right.
So yeah, oral surgery, uh, disease
Worldwide
transmission.
pandemics.
It's kind of perfect, and it's a lot of fun. So a few years ago, another company bought the rights to manufacture these and started selling them from the original mold plans, everything. So they brought the Oat Willies thing back in from another company, and so they are available now. Go to the Power Hitter company, I believe is their name. They make a fine product. I've got several of them. The first run they did, though, I loved that out of respect or perhaps some sort of an arrangement to get the rights. They did a line with the original sticker.
Nice.
And a friend of mine in Austin grabbed me one.
Oh, good.
So that I
If
have
you
the
have it.
new one here. I didn't bring them all out, but I did bring a few of them. Uh,
How many power hitters do you have over there?
8. I now have 8. Uh, some of them vintage though, and that's when it gets fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, that
That's the one.
that is
Hey,
the one you see in that picture right
it
there.
is.
Uh, Also in one of my favorite colors, purple. Not my favorite purple, but it's a good one. Anyway, Terry Flemings, dear friend, picked this up for me, and I have
Thanks, Terry.
treasured it ever since. And then this is mine, of course, from the new company. Now, one of the differences, this is the bottom of the new one, and you can see Don't Lip It, Rip It,
Mm-hmm.
and PowerHitter.co,
It's a great motto.
their own serial numbers and plastics and thing. Very, very close to the original, I gotta say. They did a wonderful job. Uh, this was my first vintage power hitter. And unfortunately, I couldn't find one at the time with the sticker, and I decided I'd rather have one with no sticker than not have one at all. So that was my first one. Now you can also tell the difference because the Oat Willie's ones look like this on the back. with the five lobed pot leaf
Mhm.
going over the. That's the hole you hold to get the power hit, and then you
Gotcha.
let go to vent it.
So does the new one also have that hole?
Yes,
I'm assuming. Okay.
but it does not have the five lobed pot leaf. And it's hard to see on this one. I have a better picture coming up, but it's got the original Oat Willie information on the bottom. So then I found this one that had a almost pristine sticker on it. And of course I had to buy it. And this one's a lot
There you
clearer
go.
on the bottom.
Yes.
At the time they were calling it the Oat Willie's department store, but you've
Because
got
they
the
had
Austin.
the weed department and the accessories department. There you go.
And then last year, another dear friend of mine, Daniel Carney, had been moving a bunch of his stuff. He grew up in Austin, and he found this that he had packed away and gifted it to me. So this one is especially dear because it was heavily used
Mhm.
by a person that I quite like. So there's a lot of sentimental value in that one.
Very cool.
And
The
this
power
one,
hitter. I'm on that site right now. It stayed up with inflation. It's $29.95, so just a little under. It's basically the same price it was back in 1970.
now the Power Hitter Company also made this clever little thing.
Is that a little football?
It is a little football, and you could put a joint in it and hit it, and then toss it to your buddy.
All
It
right, that's
throws a
cool.
nice spiral,
That's cool.
and no ash because the ash is inside.
Right. Now, what is this?
This is a vintage piece. Oat Willie's for a while made these novelty power hitters, I guess you would call them. Uh, they don't hold up well. Like I can't use this because if you squeeze the handle now, it will break apart into several pieces.
Uh-huh.
It's very fragile. But back in the day, yeah, you could put a joint in this and then squeeze the handle and shoot the smoke out. Not
So you
super
could like
practical,
put it in your friend's mouth and
but yeah, kind of cool.
yeah.
And then this was the last one I bought, which is from the new company, but a special one they put out that is glow in the dark. Not only is it glow in the dark though, but I might have bought it anyway just because I'm nuts. Uh, but it came with something that I have yet to try. We're going to try it for the first time tonight.
The pump.
A pump.
So that just saves you what? The trouble of having to
Yeah, because you're
gently
too
squeeze
lazy
it?
to squeeze it.
Okay, just making sure. And that'll run you an extra 15
Oh,
bucks.
but again, it does glow in the dark.
That's almost the glow in the dark is almost worth the price alone.
Yeah, that's it. Glowing in the dark. So yeah, let's do this. So I want to go back here for the folks who maybe have not done this before. Was that? Oh yeah. So again, this is how you use it. The mouthpiece unscrews. Then it has a place for your smokable, which must be lit. And of course, back in the day, we didn't have tips. So you would just take the end of the joint and jam it in here.
Right.
Another benefit of this back then, though, you didn't need a roach clip and you didn't burn your fingers. You could smoke it all the way down
That's a benefit.
because you don't have to hold it. So now I have the joint in there. Back in here, screw on the top, and you
Ooh, look
squeeze it.
at chug, chug, chug.
the
That's smooth, huh?
cough, the cough is how you know it's good.
Yes. Cough helps
I,
you get higher.
I don't expect this to work very well, but let's see. Actually, that's pretty
That
good.
that looks about the same. I don't.
Oh, damn, that's hot though.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that is a hot, hot, hot hit.
Was it hotter with the pump than when
Huh?
you squeezed? Did the
Oh yeah,
pump?
the pump is so much hotter.
Oh,
That thing is glowing in there. I could feel it. So for a party though, because honestly, you could shoot that 5, 6 feet away from somebody, it's going to cool down a little bit.
yeah.
And that, my friends, is the power hitter.
Very cool. And I'm on the site right now, and I'm probably going to order something. I don't know that I believe in the. I think I'm going to skip the pump.
I think you could safely skip the pump.
Yeah.
The pump is a toy for showing off.
I know the people at home won't be able to see these, but have you seen the blaster?
Yeah,
It's like a
the blaster's the one that looks like a water bottle.
yes. I was wondering if you had any thoughts on the blaster versus the original shape.
It didn't strike me as novelty enough
Yeah.
to purchase after having a real one, which I still feel like this is the one you want. Is the
Yeah.
standard one. It's just got a good all around feel. Although I suppose you have a little bit of one could argue that's a little bit more discreet. I think the mouthpiece still pretty much gives it away.
I think that's what it's for. That's my just looking at it. It looks like something that is maybe just so that you can put it in your backpack in the water bottle thing, and no one would notice. I have no need to be that discreet in life, though.
And I will probably never use the football, but it was just too cute not to buy.
It's cute, and I don't know. You can toss it back and forth. It makes it
I
fun.
like toys. What can I
Yeah.
say? I like toys.
If you don't grow up by 50, you don't have to. That's your rule, and I'm holding you to it.
And most of my toys, you can either smoke out of them or you can put your weed in there.
Sometimes maybe both. I don't know.
You can put your weed almost anywhere.
You can put your weed almost anywhere. We'll have to do a storage episode where you can talk about your favorite hide boxes. Are you a hide box guy? Do you have somewhere over there like a shaving cream canister that hides
You,
weed?
you know, I don't. Since I don't know, between living in Austin, I
Yeah.
never really felt the need to be very discreet. Never had kids.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, if you came to my house, you knew pretty soon
Right.
that I was a stoner. It was not a hidden thing. I guess the closest I came was when I first started smoking again, and I had not amassed uh, any sort of cool shit or taste at that point, because I had a shoebox.
I
Was
have
my
a
stash
shoebox too.
box.
Yes,
Just a shoebox. It got the job done.
it does. I think. I bet if this was The Price is Right, and somebody was, and the question was, where do people keep their weed and paraphernalia? Shoebox would be the number one or two answer. I
I don't
feel
think that's the Price is Right.
not The Price is Right. It's not
That's
The
not
Price.
how the Price
That
is
is
Right works at all, my friend.
Family Feud. Family Feud is definitely what I bet. I think. Now you're making me second guess everything.
That is the
Family Feud,
feud.
right?
Yes,
Okay, thank you.
yes, that is the feud.
Yes.
Uh,
Steve Harvey would get all shy and say, "Where did?" I'm not going to try to do a Steve Harvey impression, but his eyes would bug out.
I don't know. With me, it's more like, where don't you keep your weed?
Right.
No, I do. I have.
Do you have weed in the bathroom?
I do not. I do. I have an upstairs weed box. Although there is usually at least one jar of weed on my desk, like tonight. Uh, but then I have a box over there that has some more weed in it. Because there's different strains. How do I feel tonight? And then there's the downstairs weed box
Good.
because I don't want to be coming up and down the stairs.
It is annoying. I mean, why?
I mean, I
Especially if you've
do
already been
probably.
smoking a lot when you're downstairs, though.
I already go up down 10, 15 times a day, but if I want to roll a joint,
Yeah.
that should not necessitate going upstairs. Which also means there's the upstairs grinder and the downstairs grinder, uh, etc., etc.
Right.
It's it's how I live.
This is how I live. I'm not going to sing anymore. What are we going to learn about tonight? Are you going to teach us anything other than the history of power hitters,
I
which is
gotta
very interesting?
say, what more do you want? I taught you about power hitters.
You did. I was. Oh, I knew it.
Is that what you want? Is
That's what
that
I
what you
wanted.
need?
That's what I need.
Are we gonna talk about terpenes some more? Are we ever not gonna talk about terpenes? Sometimes
I
it
hope
feels
not.
like, but
If we get to the day where we have to say goodbye because we talk about our final terpene, it'll be a sad day, and then we'll find other things
oh,
to
they'll probably
talk
always
about.
come back though.
Good.
What's new in terpenes? Well, tonight we have linalool,
Linalool.
which you could probably guess from this picture, maybe if you recognize it, where
I
there's a
feel like
lot of linalool. What
lilac.
is so
Is that
close?
lilac?
Lilac, I believe, is a tree.
Oh, then that is the lavender.
That is the lavender,
All
indeed.
right, I know my two
Uh,
purple plants.
and I was trying to think of a good pun to put here, but all I could come up with was purple haze.
Linalool is lavender to me.
Yes, it is. By the way, I have to say this because I'm obsessive. Purple haze, the strain does not have any linalool in it,
Lame.
as near as I could find. But I didn't let that stop me because purple haze all
It's
in
all
my
in my
brain.
brain. Hey, funny story. I look a little bit like Shel Silverstein.
I was about to say,
I have a
how often have you been told you look like this man?
often, and I have video of my son when he was about 2 years old that his mother sent me, where she was reading him The Giving Tree or one of those books, and then he's pointing to the back cover and he's like, "Dad, Dad." So yeah, it's fooled my own child.
I was.
He's the best looking poet, in my opinion.
Oh, I mean, it's totally a compliment.
Hmm.
Like you looking like him is totally a compliment.
Oh, absolutely.
That man was something else. Uh, But I was realizing I have not read nearly enough of his stuff. Uh, and coming across his poem, like that's going to be a project soon. Is I'm going to read more Shel
Nice.
Silverstein because I just really haven't.
Yeah, he was a good one. When the light is green, you go. When the light is red, you stop. But what do you do when the light turns blue with orange and lavender spots? Mick has left the building. I don't know where Mick went. Uh, maybe the light turned blue with lavender spots and he had to go. Um,
Well,
and he's back. Okay, you were gone for a minute. Did you know that?
that
Yeah.
I was not happy about that.
I thought maybe that's what happened. I thought that was literally answering the question. What happens when the light turns blue with lavender spots? The wizard goes away. Well,
But no,
welcome
that
back.
is a project. I'm going to read some more Shel Silverstein. I don't know that it will change my opinion though of my favorite thing that Shel Silverstein ever wrote. What is yours?
I grew up with some of the longer collections, Where the Sidewalk Ends, and There's a Light On in the Attic. So I really have those were the ones that I read the most as a kid, near and dear to me. Um, the missing piece, the missing piece, and the Giving Tree are both classics, and they're both books that, to me, I could talk a while about those because
And
they're
see,
books that have you not read either of them?
I have not.
Okay, well, they will mean some. They are written in such a way that to a small child they mean one thing. To somebody who's maybe in their early adulthood, I think that they would mean something else. And I also believe that someone who's a little more seasoned and wise as we are, that it has like a whole different meaning as well. They are. I won't say anything else about them other than to read them and to take them in because they're profoundly heavy for what they are.
I can't wait.
Yeah.
So you
So
want
with
to know
this,
what I grew up on?
yes.
Shel Silverstein. My earliest Shel Silverstein exposure, and I'm not lying when I say has a young boy, has a child. Well, my daddy left home when I was 3, and he didn't leave much to ma and me. Just this old guitar and an empty bottle of booze. Now, I don't blame him because he run and hid. But the meanest thing that he ever did was before he left, he went and named me Sue. Are you familiar with this?
Yeah, I didn't know that Shell wrote that song.
Shel
Boy,
Silverstein wrote A Boy Named Sue.
I know the song well. I never in it now that when you recited it the way that you just did, and because we're talking about who we're talking about, it made perfect sense.
I
But I
know,
never made that connection before ever. Wow.
I know, but now when you read it
Yeah.
in his voice, it still works.
So was it like a poem that he wrote that Johnny Cash liked and made a song of, or did he write it for Johnny Cash? Is there
I
this
believe he wrote it for Johnny Cash. He definitely wrote it as a song.
man?
Uh,
That is so
he wrote
cool.
a lot of songs, and he wrote some. He wrote a few dirty ones, I believe. He definitely wrote some dirty.
That's a whole rabbit hole that I'm gonna have
Yeah, he
to go
had.
down
There were
there.
2 Silversteins, my friend.
Clearly, kind of like there were two Roald Dolls. He was writing his books for kids, and then he was also doing something for adults. I actually don't know what, but I think he did have a different side to him as well.
Oh, so where were we? Oh yeah, we were Shel Silverstein, lovely poem, talking about lavender.
Yes.
And again, that's because lavender is full of linalool. It is one of the primary sources of linalool in commercial use, for instance. Uh, Speaking of which, though, man, this stuff is in a lot of places. Like it's in I want to say 200 plants, species of plants, a lot of which we eat every day almost. So it doesn't take much. by the way. So even just 2 grams a year is like for little, you're going to get some benefits of that just on a day-to-day basis, which is somehow probably, I'm sure, purposeful. Really, when you stop and think about it. But yeah, a lot of fruit, a lot of spices,
What kind of
which are
spices?
two weirdly different things if you want to think about how it might affect their taste.
Mm,
And lest you wonder, oh, it does not take much. Uh, Now, it is very common in strains that are labeled as indica, and I want you to remember indica sativa as an actual plant differentiator stopped a long time ago
right.
for all practical purposes. And now it is more of an effect. But even then, you're going to see there are strains that are quote sativas that still have a lot of linalool in them, and just spoiler, I can smoke those, whereas I can't smoke a lot of other ones. So you can get linalool without a couch lock. Uh, Now we're talking about how a little bit can go a long way. Beer, craft beer folks have found that adding some linalool in a concentration above 20 ppb, 20 ppb, been shown to give a fruity, hoppy aroma to beer. You can really make it a little fruitier and a little hoppier just by adding some more linalool. You know
I
what
have.
that means? 20 ppb.
I don't. I was going to ask
That is
what
parts
PPE
per
is.
billion.
So we're talking in
Minuscule.
a like a gallon of beer, less than a thousandth of a medicine drop. Like,
Yeah, it's
yeah,
it's got to
okay,
be just like teeny tiny,
yeah.
and it changes the flavor. This stuff packs a wallop. That's a song. So yeah, where's found lavender a lot of it in lavender. We're gonna go there some more in a minute. Roses, citrus fruits, guava, pineapple, and then bay laurel and sweet basil and mints and herbs and laurels. Tea has a lot of linalool in it. Good tea leaves. Because you know, shitty tea leaves has probably all been processed out and stuff. Yeah. But if you get the good stuff, yeah, fresh stuff, uh,
No lipid.
linalool. Now again, taste wise, it's kind of sort of doesn't make sense if you think about it. These
There
some
is.
of
I'm not a
some of
big
these
beer
things are
drinker.
not like the others.
I was gonna say I'm not a big beer drinker, but the beers that I like actually do tend to have a little bit of a fruity, hoppy. Like I'm thinking of like an electric jellyfish by a Pine House Pizza. It's uh, maybe you've never had some, but that
No,
is
I'm
the way
uh,
that was described.
I'm
I
more
know
of a
you're
weed
drinking the
person,
NA.
really. Yeah,
Yes, same.
yeah, this is an
But that
NA.
is one of the beers I like. Yeah.
But no, like, come on, mints and herbs versus roses, cinnamon and rosewood versus guava. These things don't match. We're going to come back to that in a minute. Uh, so for commercial use, food additives and things, a lot of linalool, as we said, comes from lavender, also roses, basil, and then I ran across this thing and neroli oil. We pull it out of the neroli oil, and I'm like, well, what the fuck is neroli oil?
Asking the
I
questions
gotta
on
know,
everyone's mind. Yeah.
right? And so neroli oil
As a busted orange.
is extracted from the bitter orange, which is different from the oranges we eat. Although it is also known as the marmalade orange, you will notice. Now, it's used for marmalade because it has a higher pectin content naturally, so it sets up better. You know how you want that marmalade to set up nice and be jellyish? That's why they use this. And then they add a lot of fucking sugar to it, so it doesn't need to taste good. But that's not why we're here. So it's extracted from the flowers of this tree. We don't even use the fruit, but they take the flowers, uh, Oh, by the way, because we were talking about bergamot last week,
We
I
were.
threw this in. Bergamot. Uh, Bergamot is bred from a bitter orange, and then this other thing, this is called the limonetta, which is a whole other rabbit hole, but I won't go down that one with you. It's rather interesting, however.
Yeah,
So
we don't want to do interesting rabbit holes.
no, because we're already on the neroli oil rabbit hole, and that would be a double rabbit hole.
I'm too high.
Yeah, we can only take so many side quests. So anyway, this one I thought was fun because if you steam the orange blossom petals, you get neroli oil, and it's got its own little scent. That's not important. But they also then take these rose petals or orange petals and extract the oil with solvents. They used to do a thing called enfleurage, where you soak it in fat, and then that pulls out the oils, uh, which is a lot like making canna butter. By the way, that's you put your leaves in the butter and you're doing enfleurage. So I've done this, and I didn't even know what it was called. But anyway, when you do that, you get a totally different oil, though. You get what's called orange blossom oil, and they don't use that. They don't pull linalool out of that because they do something else with it. But when you steam them, you get the neroli, and that's where you get the linalool. And guess what?
What? There are always two.
Not always, but
Terpenes are like the Sith in Star
but there
Wars.
have been recently, honey. Well, 3 out of the last 5
Okay.
have had doubles because we also had caryophyllene has a
Here's a good
alpha and a
caryophyllene.
beta.
Yeah.
Now this is more like limonene. I'm spoiler. They smell different, but they do the same thing. There's no difference in effect like there was with caryophyllene, where the alpha and the beta matters. It does not matter here, except I'm going to go back a couple slides real quick.
Taste.
See, you got those different scents, different tastes, perhaps, uh, coming out of the same thing because it's almost mirrored. So they call one of them S-linalool, linalool. That's hard to say when you're really high. Uh, or sometimes it's called plus linalool, positive. I don't know. They don't pronounce
Slinalool.
these things. It's a scientific journal. They don't tell you how to say it.
Right.
But then there's R-linalool, which I'm going to assume is positive and negative because it's also minus,
Mm-hmm.
like being RH positive or RH negative. Now you're positive linalool. Linalool plus or linalool minus, perhaps. Does it matter? Smell and taste, it matters. Effects, not a bit.
Those are
The
such different flavors.
I know. So your S-linalool is kind of sweet, kind of florally. Something called petitgrain. They mentioned
Petite grain.
petitgrain.
I think that
Or
means small grains, like a petite fillet.
that is I looked it up and it's the woody orange smell, like not the sweet thing from the fruit,
Yeah,
but the
citrusy.
woody orange. It's a woody orange smell, kind of greenish as well. They said. I don't know. It's not as powerful. Like the odor threshold, which is how much of it would have to be in the air for you
Mm.
to smell it, is 7.4 parts per billion for S. But when you look at the R linalool,
Yeah, that's crazy.
it's less than 1 part per billion.
Right.
I mean, just the tiniest bit of that, and you're going to get that lavender smell, which I love. I love the lavender smell. So
Same.
it turns out I'm all about the linalool. Thank you very much.
No slinalool for you.
As far as what it's going to do, which is I don't know. It's not fair to say this is what you're interested in because if you are a terpene chaser, some folks do this for the flavor and the taste. One of the guy that did my Oat Willie tattoo, in fact, was a like he got high, but he chased weed for the taste. He didn't care how it made him feel. He was going for the taste, and whatever works. But
Sure, whatever floats your boat.
as a medical user, anti-anxiety, antidepressant, stress relief, and the difference there is talking about what stress does to your body.
Yeah.
And when you're whatever the stress is, which stress, by the way, can be good stress as well. Too much good happening to you at once
Mm,
stresses your body out. You can have too much fun. Good stress, bad stress is having an effect on your body that's weakening your immune system. And some of what linalool does to your body is reducing the impact of the stress on the immune system. It's going to help your immune system stay stronger and more powerful in the midst of stress, which could have something to do with your anxiety and depression in many cases. So, boom, now you're on it. I mean, this one is just right down my alley.
yeah.
This is why I smoke weed, especially when you throw in the pain part of it, because I do have chronic pain in my back. And now we've got the muscle relaxant and the pain relief effects from the sedative tendencies of it. Not necessarily sedative in the I need to go lay down sedative, but
Right.
sedative in the I'm going to make your nervous system stop complaining about what's going on. And as you're going to see in a minute, this is one of the most researched ones. So what we're saying is not, I'm going to jump ahead. It's not magic. It is chemistry. Uh, for
That's
this one
just what
has
they want you to
more than any of the other ones even. The things I'm telling you about what the effects are like stuff that they are finding in labs using this medicinally. So it will come back to what they've actually seen. Uh,
Why don't they just take all of these terpenes and put them in a pill instead of giving people the bad drugs? Now I'm really high. Sorry. That's this is what happens to me
yes,
towards
but
the end.
remember
Yeah.
that also for some of this, that entourage effect is going to play a part in it
Right.
because
But
the
if we
THC
replace
and or CBD
SSRIs with
and or
weed,
CBG is going to impact how this affects you as well, which just makes it better. But no, they're starting to seriously.
good.
It's awesome. Terpenes. See now here you don't want terpenes any other way but weed. No, that's not what I wanted to say. Uh, I mean it is what I wanted to say, but it's wrong.
The
Uh,
terpenes and the weed are great for anxiety and depression. Is
now I don't have these issues, but anticonvulsant, anti-epileptic. I don't know. Do you know anybody with Parkinson's disease?
I do.
And Parkinson's disease, cannabis is being prescribed to help that, and it is shown to help. And you can start to see, I think, why some strains might be a little better than others.
Yeah.
Medicinally, what are we trying to accomplish to help our bodies? Give it the right thing, and it's just we need the ability to pick the strains we want to smoke legally. And I don't want to get political, but that it's
Preaching
a
to the
thing.
choir.
It's
Yes.
healthcare. Uh, and the antimicrobial stuff. God, who couldn't benefit from fighting cell damaging bacteria? It doesn't take much linalool. And this is where it does get a little more frustrating from the medical standpoint because while the testing is available, it's a little more expensive and not everybody, particularly in some states, tests for terpenes. They have to test, and they want to test, of course, for marketing purposes, THC, CBD, cannabinoid levels.
Right.
But In many states, not to even mention the illegal market, there's just no testing for terpenes. When there are testing for terpenes, if you're lucky, without having to go read a report, which thankfully you can trace down in a lot of places, but even on this one, they list 4 terpenes, but there's probably 7 or 8. And if linalool is in it, the odds are pretty good. It's going to be at 4 or lower in volume. And that's partly because it didn't take much. A little goes a long way. So it's not one that has been bred for very often. Uh, it doesn't take much of it. So there's usually not much, and it oftentimes doesn't show up on the reports. Uh, but it may be there if you can actually, uh, which again, some states, especially craft growers, are getting more into this. It's becoming a marketing thing because people are
Right.
asking for it and appreciating it. Uh, in Vermont, almost every grower will put a QR code on the packaging, and then you can go to their testing. And I'd say 3/4 of them are starting to do the terpene testing, and then you're getting the entire profile. You always have time to do that? No, which is unfortunate. Uh, it's getting better. Ask for it.
One of my favorite dispensaries in Mass is called Terpene Journey.
Oh, I like the sound of this already. But yeah, it is almost never dominant. On top, hardly ever. Top three, pretty rare. But it doesn't take much. Here's one, and this is a stray that I used to smoke a lot in Colorado. Uh, and now I know why. Lavender Jones. Don't see it here much, but it's really nice. I love it. But I found this report, and granted, your actual levels are going to vary from batch to batch. You got good batch, bad batch, what have you. But I think this is a pretty representative sample. So you got a lot of myrcene, a lot of beta caryophyllene, a lot of humulene, but even that's starting to get low. But then look at this linalool, so tiny, but that's all it takes. Look at some of those odor thresholds we talked about earlier.
Right.
A taste threshold in beer, very, very tiny. So for the skeptical amongst you, or when you're having this argument with your uncle at Thanksgiving, saying ain't nothing good about weed, linalool actually reduces the signaling strength of the acetylcholine in your brain. Now, one of the things that acetylcholine does, by the way, is throughout the day, the acetylcholine uh, builds up and it makes you sleepy. And you go to sleep to flush it out. And so this interacts with that and reducing the signaling strength of it. Uh, it actually causes it to build up a little more. And that's why you get a little sleepy with it sometimes. It's building up more acetylcholine. I know it sounds weird the way they put it, but it causes it to build up. And that helps with muscle contraction and movement a little bit. I'm sorry, no, that is the other way because that is why it's an anticonvulsive. So it is reducing a little bit. Uh, I'm sorry, I'm like really high from that power hitter.
It's the motor.
Yeah. It also has anesthetic-like effects because it reduces the excitability of the cells in your spinal cord that are responsible for transmitting pain from down here to your body or to your brain. So it's like y'all chill out and stop being so active,
Right.
and that's why you hurt less without opioids. Yeah, when I was talking about going to sleep, I was confusing acetylcholine with adenosine because I was high. Linalool elevates adenosine, and adenosine is what builds up in your brain during the day, and then you get sleepy at night so that you flush it out. You go to sleep to flush out the adenosine. Linalool is going to elevate that,
I
and
produce
that's going to
too
make you
much
sleepy.
adenosine levels.
However, the adenosine helps with tissue repair. It's an anti inflammatory for those of you with arthritis and other types of joint pain. That's kind of awesome. It can decrease your blood pressure and it will slow your heart rhythm down.
Good things.
So you get a little sleepy. Yeah, it might be a fair trade. Not to mention, I need to get a little sleepy sometimes. Now, the good thing about this is it's the I'm going to make you sleepy is not necessarily super noticeable because I'm going to jump ahead real quick and just go to the bottom here. Durbin poison. Anywhere you look, that's a sativa. It
Yeah.
is energizing. It ain't going to make you sleepy. So you got to balance this out with other things that may be there as well. So don't worry. Oh, little Lul means I'm going to go to sleep. No, it's in a lot of sativas, but it is chemistry. And then this is a more recent study in 2016. They are using this in mice to test the efficacy of linalool as a preventative and or treatment for Alzheimer's. So it reverses many of the behavioral impairments. It reverses some of the cognitive impairments. It also reduces the number of brain plaques and cellular tangles. So it could help Alzheimer's in multiple ways. And this is going to be one where I think you will definitely see it potentially being used in some sort of a pill or injection form.
That would be something. Alzheimer's it's up there with my biggest fears.
Yes, absolutely. Uh, for me or anyone I love.
Yes.
So where
Even
can you?
even people I don't like. Sorry. That's I wish I would wish Alzheimer's on
Oh,
almost
nobody.
no one.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. uh, where can we find it? Now you can find it in a lot more weed than this, but again, it's going to be buried down on the list. What you have here are the ones where you might see it peaking above number 4, so it could be in the top 3. And like Skittles, Z-Kittles, everybody says it differently. Skittles is how I like to do it, but I don't. Pretty high, and that's where you get some. I think that kind of fruity flavor that you get. Scooby snacks I've had. I want to say I've had Dosey Does, but I wouldn't swear to it. I am not familiar with many of these. I would love to try what I can only assume is Gorilla Fuck. One of its
I
parents it
would
was
also
named
assume that.
something Frack, b-
Ah,
but you would spell out Frack, so I'm guessing that is Gorilla Fuck. And I'm down with that. Strain. I would like to try that strain.
I was about to go there.
But Durbin Poison is
The only one on the list I've tried.
that is a strain that I like. I like quite a bit. I can't get it often, but I am a big fan. And one of the reasons it's one of the few sativas that I can smoke with no fear
And now we know why.
because of that linalool, man. Lots of linalool, relatively. That, my friends, is the linalool episode.
All right. Well, that means it's time for us to stumble over the closing of the show again, doesn't it? So I'm going to go ahead and start us out. Wizard, it's been a pleasure. Friends, thanks for joining us. As long as we can remember our login info next week, we will see you again. Wizard.
And one of these days, I will know how to get out of here that isn't awkward. Good
Little
night.
Lou! Good night, everybody.